Before we begin, I would like to announce that I will be attending the 63rd Annual Convention of the American Society of Dowsers, June 8th through June 11th, being held at the State University of New York Adirondack campus in beautiful Queensbury, New York. The convention will feature dowsing demonstrations and speakers, a metaphysical expo and dowsing bookstore, a wellness center, and much, much more. The Queensbury campus is only 45 minutes north of Albany International Airport, and affordable on-campus housing is available. For more information and to register for this unique event, please visit www.dowsers.org. And now for today's podcast.
Welcome to High Vibes with your host, Bill G. At High Vibes, we're looking into what it means to be a fourth-dimensional being in an ever-changing world. We hope that by listening to our podcast, you can feel a greater sense of peace and connection as we collectively raise our energetic vibration to the next level. And now for today's podcast.
Hello and welcome to High Vibes. I'm your host, Bill G. And today's special guest, we are continuing our special featuring the Dowsers who are going to be presenting at the American Society of Dowsers National Convention coming up this June in Queensbury, New York. Today's special guest is Marty Lucas. We talked to Marty Lucas last year. He was the Dowser keynote speaker for the last year's convention, and this year he is doing another workshop and also a speaking engagement. So we will be talking a little bit about that, and we're also going to be talking a little bit about dowsing in general, radionics, and all that other stuff that he does, which is absolutely fascinating work. So Marty, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Bill. It's a pleasure to be here, and it's always good to talk to you and your folks.
We talked to you last year, and with our High Vibes episode featuring the American Society of Dowsers National Convention. So, what are you up to at this year's convention that people can look forward to?
Well, the radionics is like a second cousin to dowsing, and I like to show the mechanics of how the radionics works and all of that, of course. But at this convention, I'm going to be showing the results. And showing what we can do when we start, finding out what those different energy frequency packages are. And when we start managing those frequencies, suppressing some, augmenting others. And my workshop is called Your Own Journey of Fulfillment. And the idea is to find those frequencies that really drive you. In our society, we've been taught, of course, that, you're supposed to chase happiness and the pursuit of happiness, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And it's my belief that when you are properly aligned with who you are and why you're here, that happiness finds you. And that's what the journey of fulfillment is about. And so in my class, I'm using some of the tools that I developed in my radionics lab, so that people can get a hands-on feel for what these frequency patterns feel like to them. And in my experience, many times we have the expert tell us this or the guru tell us that. But you know what? If you don't actually feel what's happening, then it's not real for you. And I want to show people really how this feels for them. And that's what the Journey of Fulfillment's about.
Okay, so for the benefit of somebody who's tuning in for the first time and has never heard of radionics, can we just give a brief background about what radionics is and how it applies to dowsing?
Absolutely. According to the latest physicists, they're telling us that we live in a hologram of light. And so everything around us is made of basically energy and information. And what we do is with the radionics is we have instruments so that we can analyze those information patterns and either suppress them or go ahead and augment them. So let's say, for instance, that you have the energy pattern of anger. We think of it as an emotion in the day-to-day life, But in science, all it is just a frequency pattern. We can capture what that pattern looks like, and then we can go ahead and do what we need to do to go ahead and manage it as is appropriate. And so everything around us has a frequency. And what we do in dowsing is we use our minds to tune into those frequencies, and for the Raymond Grace folks to manage those frequencies. And what we do in radionics is we use instruments to do the same thing. So we're really second cousins. The advantage with using the instrument is that I can go ahead and set the instrument up and put it to work, even though my mind wanders off to do something else. The disadvantage with the instrument is I don't have the capacity to do the complexity of many of the thought forms that we can do so easily with our own thoughts. So as we're going through life, we start thinking about, okay, what are some of these frequencies that I deal with every day? And all of our emotions are frequencies, love, anger, fear. Everything else around us is frequencies as well. So, for instance, one of the things that we do in radionics all the time is we'll take a look at different pathogens or pests. We find those frequencies of that pathogen or pest, and then we see what we have to do to go ahead and suppress that. And if I can suppress that pathogen or suppress that pest, then the plant or animal then has the opportunity to go ahead and heal and recover from whatever that issue is. And so it's a very complex but interesting field of research. And what I think is really interesting is the deeper that we get into this, the more it aligns with everything we've ever learned in dowsing, and more the quantum physicists are coming around and verifying the things that we have been doing. And so in the Psychotronics Association, which is the scientific organization for radionics, we have a lot of us like myself that are out in the field doing the work. And then we have the physicists and the mathematicians that are back trying to figure out how it is that we're doing it. So don't let anybody out there tell you that what you're doing with radionics or what you're doing with dowsing is not scientific. It is absolutely scientific. It's been proven over and over again. And if anybody tells you that it's not, well, then they're probably still stuck in that physics or that science that they learned in high school. And remember, Newton was doing his work at the same time we were still burning witches in Salem. So things have changed a little bit in the last 400 years.
That's great. One of the things that I love about the work that I do with Akashic dowsing is it is also the science of consciousness, because a lot of what radionics does and also what dowsing is doing and also what the new research is all about is the science of consciousness. And what I love about the work that I do is that through the dowsing tool and the dowsing systems that I use, we're able to tap into those things in the subconscious that are working to clear its way out as we're raising our vibration into a new level of consciousness. And the great thing about it is, just like with radionics, where you hit the dial or you use the instrument and then you leave it alone and let it do its work. Akashic dowsing is the same way. Once you learn what it is that you are needing to pay attention to, or what needs to be brought into the conscious mind, then you leave it alone, because you've already given your conscious mind permission to let go of whatever's living in the subconscious. And all the dowsing did was it revealed what was in the subconscious. So now your conscious mind can now concentrate on and heal on it without having to actually, quote unquote, work on it. It's not like, now this is your prescription. You need to now go and do your mirror exercises and focus on this particular thing that you need, that was brought up in the session. No, you're just giving it permission to leave. You're purifying by allowing that to happen. And I see radionics working a lot of the same way too, because it works a lot on that light wave energy that is been studied for a very, very long time, and even harkens all the way back to the ancient Egyptians and before that, because using light wave energy in that way. Um, uh, Over the past year, my wife and I have familiarized ourselves with biogeometry, and I see that definitely coming into play with the work that you do, and also the work that other people have done as well within within the dowsing, within the radionics field as well. So, can you talk a little bit about light wave energy and how that plays into in what you do?
Well, you really hit it right on the head. Everything is a matter of energy and information. And because we live in a three-dimensional world, we tend to think in three dimensions, but science tells us that there are at least 12, and some say as many as 27 or 28 dimensions or more. But the point is, when we are working with many of these energy patterns, they're not confined to the three dimensions that we deal with. And so we don't have to worry about action at a distance, because in a multidimensional universe, there is no distance. Even time becomes one of those factors that, is not a limiting anymore. And the biggest limitations that we have are the ones that are between our ears. Over and over again, and for any of you dowsers that are out there, the answers are easy. Yeah, you can pull out your pendulum, you can pull out your dowsing tool, and you can get an answer. It's the questions that are the challenge. And in my work, one of the real advantages and the blessings that I've had being associated with the American Society of Dowsers is rubbing shoulders with people that are doing the same thing I am doing, but doing it in a completely different way. For instance, this year, our keynote dowser, or our keynote speaker, is Gail West, and I've worked with Gail for a number of years. And a few years ago, she dropped a nugget on me that has really changed a lot of my work and is the foundation of the journey of fulfillment. And she said that not only do we have a heart's desire, but we also have a soul's desire. And for me, when somebody mentions heart's desire, I'm thinking, well, that's kind of an immature or even selfish thing. I really hadn't thought about it as an adult, and the last time I really thought about it was in high school because of that certain cheerleader. But when you start to think about heart's and soul's desire, in a very real sense, they are why you are here and who you are. And those are simply energy patterns that resonate with your fundamental you. And if I can get you aligned with doing who you are and why you are here, then the whole universe lines up behind you to make it happen. And that's when happiness starts to chase you. And where that all ties into the energy is, again, it's energy and information. We think those thoughts that we have here between our ears, are confined, inside our head, but they are not. They are scalar energy patterns. They are broadcast throughout the environment that we live in. And so that when I harbor those thoughts of love and compassion and gratitude, they resonate to everybody around me. And so as I walk into a room, if I'm carrying those frequencies, I share them with everybody that's with me. And if I'm strong enough, then they take on those frequencies. If I'm not strong enough, then I take on their frequencies. And so what science is finding is that, we think of this, mobile meat bucket as mostly just a physical thing, but it is not at all. The energy tools that we've been given and the training that we've received over the last few years just simply reinforces everything that we have been taught. We are, birds of a feather flock together. In energy terms, that means that those things that I resonate with, I'll hang around with. Well, that makes perfect sense. So, gosh, the teacher was right in the third grade, and now I understand why. And when we study, Dawkins' work with the levels of consciousness, we see certain levels in there of resonance. And as we start changing those resonance, we see the world around us change. As I raise the energy frequency of my property, what I notice is that the storms that normally would come through go around. The other thing is the people that don't resonate with those high frequencies simply don't come around anymore. But the people that do resonate with those frequencies are attracted and they come out to me. And so it's like, well, gosh, the things that make me happy are the things that I want to do. And the whole universe seems to want to make me happy. And doesn't that turn everything that we were taught in elementary school upside down about how we had to work hard and how we had to fit in and all the things that we tried to do as kids? I wanted to be a certain thing when I grew up, and I wanted to do certain things, and I spent so much of my youth and so much of my time as a young person trying to fit into a peg. Well, guess what? That didn't make me happy. What I find is that rather than me trying to change me, if I just represent who I am strong enough, then that peg finds me. I don't have to chase it. Happiness comes after me, and that's really my journey. And it's how much fun is that? Look at what as we go to the Dowsing convention, and as you look at the different workshops and look at the different people and even the books, there are some that you'll be attracted to, and there are some that you simply won't. Don't fight it. Go ahead and play right into that. And if there is something there that appeals to you, jump in it with both feet and really listen to how your body feels when you step into that. Does it resonate with you at a fundamental level? And if you have that little voice in the back of your mind saying, "Ooh, this doesn't feel quite right," listen to it. That's sadly in our society, we've been taught not to listen to that little voice. We've been taught that, we want to, be the good role, whatever it is. You want to, fit into the workplace. You want to, be the good husband, be the good parent. You want to be the good this, you want to be the good that. And then at the end of your life, you can put on your tombstone that they were a good whatever. The point is if you're doing what you're supposed to be doing, and you're doing what makes you happy at a soul level, then you don't have to pretend anymore. And all of that pretense falls away. And it is so energizing to simply walk in and be who you're supposed to be, and accept people accept it or not accept it, because at that point, those that really resonate with who you are will come into your life, and those that don't resonate will leave. And you don't have to do anything one way or the other except do what makes you happy. How cool is that?
That's very cool. One of the things we're doing a little differently at the Dowsers convention is that normally, at least in my limited experience of Dowsers conventions, the workshop days were generally the days before the convention actually started. But what we're doing differently this year is there are workshops, half-day workshops available on Friday and Saturday of the convention. And so that way, if you are attending convention and say that there's a speaker that you really want to see, but it's on top of another workshop, you can actually get a recording of that workshop, of that talk, and be able to attend the workshop at the same time. So the recording will actually allow you to listen to as many of the talks as you want, because we've got a lot of talks going on at the same time, as well as workshops going on at the same time. And sometimes it could be hard to choose. And, you've got a couple of options. You can break out your Dowser and you can allow that to lead you to the one you want to see, or you can have your cake and eat it too by getting a recording of a talk that you wanted to see and attend the workshop you want to go to at the same time. Now, the workshops are not being recorded; it's just the talks. So if you go to a talk thinking that you're going to get a recording of a workshop, that's not going to work. You need to get, if you want to go to a workshop, you got to go pay for the workshop and go to the workshop and then get the recording of the talk that you missed.
I have found that the lowest stress way for me to really enjoy the convention is to get recordings of everything. And that way, if I miss a class, because I'm visiting with old friends, or because I spent too much time at the labyrinth, or, I spent too much time at the bookstore, or, any other number of things, then I've got all the recordings. And so I carry those with me and listen to them when I'm on the road. And I've got the recordings from, several years because, my first convention, I, was worried about, oh, I'm going to miss this class and I'm going to miss this person because that's somebody I really want to hear. And so there was that certain level of stress. And now I've just accepted that there's no way I'm going to be able to see everybody that I want to see in their class anyway. So I'm just going to get all the recordings and I'm just going to let it go with the flow.
That's right. And actually, I think that's the best way to really enjoy it. It really takes a lot of the stress off of going to it because we've got so many really, really strong speakers and really strong ideas. And what's cool about all of it is that no matter where you're coming from, I mean, you emphasized this earlier, no matter where you're coming from or what tools that you use, we're all basically doing the same work. We're all about raising vibrational energy of yourself using the tool as kind of that catalyst or that mirror to allow you to understand what is going on inside and what's going on in your world so that way you can just be happier, be able to make better decisions, make better choices, not just because you've got better information, but you just feel better. And then it just allows you just to, and the level of camaraderie and whatever, meeting with so many like-minded people at the same time who are doing the same kind of work, it's energizing, it's refreshing, it's so much fun.
It absolutely is. And the diversity of not only modalities, but the diversity of the people that are there. I would never have, stumbled into many of the things I've stumbled into if it hadn't been for the Dowsers.
Oh,
I
me
mean,
too.
I would not have been exposed to it. You start looking at some of the people that are bringing many of the native traditions and those teachings, and you go, well, gosh, that sounds just exactly like what this other guy is saying, but they're using different words. And then when I sit down and I start talking to, some of these, like the Akashic Dowsers and some of the other Dowsers, and we realize, what, we are absolutely doing the same work. We're using different vocabulary, we're using different tools, but the things that you are working on, I can use in my work. The concepts that work for you work for me. And so I can look at, Raymond Grace's work. I can look at Gail West's work. I can look at Dr. Michelle Peel's work. And I can go, you know what? I don't know everything that they're doing or exactly all there is to know about their modality, but I can grab this nugget and that nugget and I can take it home and I can use it right now. And I do that every year. So one of the reasons I always come back to the Dowsers is because, quite selfishly, it is very good for me and it's very good for my business. And it gives me better and better questions to ask. And that's what makes it fun.
So to register for the convention, all you have to do is go to www.dowsers.org, and there's a link there that'll take you to the convention registration website. Now, just understand that on-campus housing, that is closed now. So if you are deciding now that I want to go, there are other options for housing. There are local hotels that have given us nice discounts on rooms. There are lots and lots of local restaurants. The Queensbury area, it's Queensbury and Glens Falls in New York. Tons and tons of things to do, tons and tons of places to go and restaurants there. So you don't feel like if I can't get on campus, I can't go to the convention. That is absolutely not the case. if you just want to come for the day, say you're just curious, the vendor area is free. You can come to the convention and just come to the vendor area and check it out. You don't even have to buy a day pass. However, if you do want to enjoy some of the speakers or attend a workshop, whatever, there is a fee for that. But like, if you just want to check it out for the day, you can absolutely do that. Just come out and say hello and meet the people who are doing the work. And Marty, you have a booth at the vendor area too, so you can come out and talk to Marty too, right?
Absolutely. And your chances of finding me at my booth, I would say, are minimal, because I'm like the rest of you. There is so much to see and so many old friends to talk to and meet. And if you catch me in the vendor area, unless somebody has me at my table, I'll be at somebody else's table looking at their neat stuff. I'll be over at the bookstore finding that last book that I don't have yet, or that last dozen books, or because it really is almost like Christmas for me, having the access to these people, have the access to their experience, and their tools and toys. And it's just, it is a wonderful energy vacation for me. And so would love to have you stop by the booth, would love to have you in my workshops or my class. And if you just want to, buttonhole me and we can sit down for a cup of coffee, that's fine too, because I'm coming to the convention to have fun. And that is my primary consideration. And that's what I'm going to do. I love sharing what I've learned with other people so that they can, take what I've learned and run with it. And I love learning from other folks as well. So this is just a great opportunity to sit back, have some fun, and really, really, enjoy hanging around with other people that see the world in a very optimistic and exciting way.
So, Marty, thank you so much for joining us. And everybody out there, thank you so much for joining us on the podcast. And if you can make it, that's great. We look forward to seeing you. If you can't make it, there are recordings that are going to be available too in the American Society of Dowsers bookstore as well. So if you've missed the convention and you really there's somebody on the list that you really, really want to hear, you'll be able to get that too. So again, thank you very much for being here, and thank you everybody for listening, and we will see you next time.
Thank you for listening. For more information about Bill and Nina G, please go to www.vitalbioenergetics.com. See you next time.